All
I don't
right.
know what it is, but I'm going to Google it later.
Yeah, you don't want to Google that. It's not a good thing to Google. Welcome to Practical Shooting After Dark. We're here to talk about shooting. On deck tonight, it's just Mr. Matt Hopkins and I.
Hi, Ben.
I didn't even ask anybody else to come on. I'm tired of Joel. Tyler's boring. Whatever. I just want you.
Tyler's pretty interesting, I guess.
No, Tyler is pretty interesting. I like Tyler a lot. But anyway, I thought it'd be fun just to do me and you.
Like old times, or
like the old days.
But it was like days. not the super old days, like the sort of old days, because
I don't know, man. I've been at this.
All right. Yeah.
It's been a long time. Maybe 5 years ago or 4 years ago.
No, longer than that, dude.
Longer?
Longer than that, yeah.
All right, I'm feeling old.
Long time ago, dude.
So we have some things to talk about. You've got a topic. I've got a topic to talk about, and then we usually take questions, which we've got a couple interesting ones. And, there we go. So first up, I think, Matt, you want to talk about team slot selection.
Yeah, there's been some talk, and I don't know if it's controversy or what, but
I guess it's controversial, yeah. Some guys are spun up.
Yeah, there's some definite questions.
Justifiably spun up, and some, they want world shoot slots. Some guys get them, some guys don't.
So USPSA, I believe on Friday, sent out all the who got slots for 2020 World Shoot, right? Did you get yours Friday?
I don't remember what day I got it, but yes, I got one. And this will air on Thursday, so this will be last week Friday.
Yeah, so the 7th, it looks like all the team slots and individual slots went out to all the competitors that qualified for the slots. And then USPSA went and posted a note 2 days after that. So they
hold on, we should
on Sunday.
So we should give people a little bit more context so they know what's going on. So 2018, 2019 seasons, if you wanted to go to World Shoot, there's 2 matches each year you want to shoot. That is USPSA Nationals in the division that you want to shoot, and then the IPSC qualifier match in Florida that's held in the summer, otherwise known as IPSC Nationals. You do want to shoot that match, so your best 3 scores of 4 in those 2 matches, 2 matches each year, so 4 scores, best 3 out of 4. That will be your score for slots, which matters in some way, right? That sounds about.
And that's per division also. So technically, Classic could qualify for a Classic slot and a limited slot. It looks like you could only qualify for 2 slots though, because there's only 2 IPSC Nationals.
Well, yeah. So I guess. Yes, it was possible because there's multiple nationals that you could try for multiple slots, but some guys did that.
And I know of at least 2 guys that qualified for 2 slots each, and they just picked which one they wanted to do more. So
yes,
and we're all pretty familiar with those 2 on this podcast. I don't need to say their name or whatever.
Which the 2 guys?
Yeah, Kwanzik and Mason both qualified for 2 slots.
I didn't remember who. I knew Mason. I didn't realize Wanzik did that.
They both actually qualified for production and production off slots. So it was possible, and they actually did it. So it's just how all the USPSA Nationals worked out, and then they shot one of each of the IPSC Nationals. So
yes, okay, so
USPSA sent all that out on the 7th of February. Then they posted.
Well, hold on. I should say people were vying for slots based on the World Shoot team selection policy, which I'm looking at right now, effective March 1 of 2018.
Yeah. So
the rules of the game, I suppose, were laid out, but I should point out in the rules of the game there was a rule. I'm looking at nothing in this policy indicates a commitment or decision by USPSA to field any teams or offer a specific level or amount of financial assistance to any team members. Additional teams may be fielded at USPSA discretion. providing enough individuals with earned slots are able to form teams. So the team thing is another strange thing that USPSA people don't really know anything about. So
Yeah.
maybe we got to
So
explain that.
yeah, in
Just to
IPSC,
get so people understand what the hell's
a
going on.
country can field a team. So a USA production team would consist of 4 shooters, and the top 3 scorers on that would go on to determine who the best team in the world is. And I think something like we won 4 out of 5 last year, or at the last World Shoot.
Or I think it was maybe more.
I think there's only 5 divisions in though. The
Yeah,
division teams.
Oh yeah, division teams.
Yeah,
Yes.
there was a
Okay.
bunch of category teams that won also. I don't know what number that is, but I know 4 out of the 5 division teams won gold, and the 5th team won silver. Way to let us down, production.
Hey, don't look at me. I got the best score on the team. Don't fuck
Yeah,
with me.
not saying anybody let anybody down, but like that was the most contested division.
That felt personally like a slap
To you or someone else?
to other people.
Well, dude, it was a joke. Come on.
No, Matt, you're calling people out.
No, like
How dare you, sir?
that was the most contested division.
No one cares. It's fine.
Yeah. So
So-
USPSA listed out what, like 5. So they listed out, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 teams that they called out specifically in the policy.
Mm-hmm.
Open standard, production, classic, revolver, and then open lady, production lady, open senior, production senior, classic senior.
Yes.
They specifically called those out in the policy. Then they bolded the comment you said about nothing in the policy indicates commitment or decision by USPSA to field any teams.
Right. So, like, I understand why that clause is in there because they don't want to get sued or whatever.
Yeah,
If
it's kind of like a
something-
disclaimer, right?
Yeah, like if something happens, I understand why that's in there. If I were king of this, that is not a clause that I'd want to invoke. Let me put it that way, because then you have some pretty angry people then when you do that.
Yeah, and then another point, there's some other about financial assistance. Additional teams may be fielded at USPSA discretion, provided enough individuals with earned slots are able to form teams. This is the clause that they used to send the production optics teams. So the production optics wasn't a division back in 2018 when this policy was written, but I guess they heard some scuttlebutt about it, or I think this is if there's enough revolver juniors that qualify. I was trying to not call out a specific group there. If there's
What, so
enough
Revolver Junior's not a real thing? How dare you?
I don't know. Well, they can email me if they have a problem, I guess, or message me.
You are a Revolver Junior shooter.
So if enough revolver junior shooters,
Not waste your youth on Revolver.
and that means so they have to have 4 people. They can't just have 3. So if you have 4 revolver juniors that qualified, they can field their own team,
Yes.
just like they did with the production optics. So it looks like they're going to have an optics heavy and an optics light team per that sentence in the policy.
Yeah.
So USPSA 2 days later, after sending out all the slots, put a note up on their Facebook page. And that caused a lot of commentary, right?
Not sure, I guess.
I think so. There's some back and forth. Obviously, not everybody's happy.
Well, no, I mean, I've
No.
seen there's been some like this affects not many people in the grand scheme of things, right?
No, I think what they say, there was like 100. So it looks like, I don't know what so over 100 people applied and will not make the cut. It looks like I think the US got 52 slots, just like France, the previous World Shoot. The regional director only used one of his discretionary slots, and that was for the purpose of promoting an IPSC World Shoot bid to the General Assembly. So he returned his 9 slots back to the pool, and they were used by individuals in order of finish. It's a long explanation, and then they added to it, like they noted in bold writing, which you reviewed some earlier. Like you had to follow a current, like you had to submit your,
your
points.
We're getting off in the weeds. There's all this rules and all this shit that people had to do. So people go and shoot the matches, and essentially, I think there was not enough participation in some of the categories to warrant.
It looks so. They did. There's some other notes about 13 applicants who shot at least 3 matches are in the open division and senior category, all below the initial distribution in points. So it looks like they didn't shoot high enough to qualify for the slots.
Well, they did. They would qualify for open senior, right?
Yeah, but they didn't. I'm not sure. I'm just skimming this real fast. Okay, so in 2017, it looks like the discretionary slots were used to field the category teams and a revolver team. So it supplemented the points winners. So, and that left only 14 additional slots. And it looks like now instead of doing that, they just put them back to the pool.
Okay, so
you can read the note and get all the different. So it looks like there were 15 slots awarded.
The details are
individuals.
The details are not strictly relevant. This thing didn't go the way a lot of people thought it would go. I'm not super shocked, but this didn't go the way people thought it would go. So USPSA is not fielding all those teams.
They said they closed the 2023 World Shoot team, and individual slot selection policy will be more clear about how slots will be earned and distributed. Even though the 2020 policy was followed, there was room for slight differences in interpretation. The largest issue is one of supply and demand. There were more than twice as many applicants for slots in 2017. IPSC is attempting to address this issue as it affects all regions.
Well, IPSC is just going to make World Shoot bigger, which won't necessarily make it better, I would think.
Yeah, you add a day. Some people were talking about you add like 20% more slots to it. So if you add one day, you get 20% more slots.
Yeah, but the only reason IPSC would do that is for money, I think. So they can sell more slots. But
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, so they obviously get more money.
So anyway, the point is, USPSA is not fielding the teams that they said they're going to field. Some people are upset. Other people are happy, I should say. So now slots are going to individuals. So let's walk this through. So the choice is, I can field a team of whatever.
A category team.
A category team, like lady standard or whatever. I don't know I don't know what they're fielding or not.
Yeah.
But it's like I can have a category team, or as you know, Matt, this may or may not apply to you. There are guys out there that are very, very good. They're all in on the sport, training all the time, but they're not going to be one of the top 4 guys to be honestly, to be in their division. They're not going to be one of those guys, and yes, they don't fit in a category. So kind of like your really good regular Joe. So maybe you might have a guy at your club who's top 16 in his division in the country, really good, trains all the time, has a job, whatever, never going to be top 4. And unless, you could do a sex change, I guess, to get on a category team, but that doesn't sound very realistic. So those guys in that boat end up being kind of stuck, where they don't really have a way to go. So that's that's kind of the trade-off, right?
Yeah, it kind of depends on how they want to do it. And obviously not everybody's going to be happy with this. If we got 300 slots, people will be mad because they didn't hear about it in time and couldn't apply for it, and then some guy would be pissed off later on after the match happened. Like, there's no way they're going to do this and make everybody happy.
No, it's impossible.
It's impossible, or we have to host our own World Shoot and not let any other country in.
Well, we have that. It's called USPSA Nationals.
Well,
Remember when we were going to leave IPSC and then have our own World Shoot, which would be just like USPSA World Shoot? We have Steel Challenge World Championship. That's our own World Shoot. There you go.
It's like the Super Bowls of the World Championship of football.
Yeah, they would do that, totally.
And we're the only ones that play football.
It's a very American thing to do. It really is.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So people are angry about this. Some of them. I mean, it tends to be people that are affected are a little bit upset. Mostly the problem is that the policy that they wrote ended up not really being a good policy. It just didn't fit the circumstances. But of course,
there were some holes in it that some people like. It was just interpreted differently between everybody. So,
right.
It sounds like they realize that they're going to fix it for the next one.
But some people here are like, I should say, they're quite. It's not just like, hey, I don't get to go to World Shoot. I get them being upset. It was like some people like went down a track of attending a few matches specifically for the purpose of earning a World Shoot slot to find out after the fact that it was irrelevant that they did that, and it was just not going to happen for them, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I totally understand those people being pissed. Totally understand. So I do hope they get this sorted out better for the next time. Like, that's for sure. What would you say about that, Matt?
I think they'll have it figured out, and it will be more than 2 pages. I think it will be very detailed and not leave a lot to the interpretation.
Yes, probably so. And it wouldn't be too bad since they can change this policy on some level. I don't know. Maybe they might have wanted to have a more open conversation with people before they passed out the slots, because I don't know. Maybe there's a different compromise here, a different way to go. I don't really know. I haven't looked at the specifics on who qualified for what, and that's getting past my give a shit meter, you know?
Right.
Yeah. But anyway, it's interesting. You know, we want people to do well and be happy and have a way to get slots.
So one thing that is called out is you can't shoot a production, a limited, and an open and get 100 in each of those. You have to shoot all the qualifiers in one division. So even if you shot more than the 3 like minimum, you couldn't combine different divisions. So if you shot a open and a CO and another CO, you can't combine the open CO and CO. It has to be all in the same division. So that was also one of the questions people were having. It looks like they clarified that later on. So
yeah. Okay. Well, I hope they get it sorted out better next time. That's really all I can say. Good topic, Matt. Very, very exciting for the people. Would you like to talk about my thing?
Yeah, what do you got?
I shot a match.
So you have a this weekend shooting.
Yes. I shot a match.
So
my first time shooting a match in Carry Optics.
Oh, so what'd you think?
I would describe it as the speed of limited with the precision of production.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this your first match with the CO gun?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay, but you've had some experience with the guns with the optics on them before, right?
I've had guns with optics. I haven't shot them a whole ton, honestly, but I mean, I was shooting a striker fired gun with an optic, which is obviously completely different to a metal gun with a hammer and no optic. So I was shooting a very different gun than normal. Right. So I used it for shits and gigs. I used a Glock. So
what was your takeaways from it besides the fastest limited precision of production?
I mean, I like. I mean, obviously it's shooting, so I had fun, of course.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way: open makes less and less sense with carry optics being a thing.
For the general person or for you?
Either. Just pick one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, open primarily is about the dot, and like see, it's just like easier. It's just like easier to make everything work. You can have
So yeah,
a Glock and factory ammo,
yeah,
and now that the optics have gotten better, I would say that the SROs that I've got, I haven't had any issues.
right.
Yeah, I know if you point them at the sun or whatever, there's another dot there. I truly I don't give a shit. Um, they
I
haven't broken. The zero's not moved on them. They're fine.
SROs I haven't.
No, I haven't had it. A couple guys have had problems, but generally I think they're pretty good. So
Like yeah, anything that has to do with like shooting and all that stuff, like it's going to break at some point. It's just like
yeah,
how often or how like I don't know. So the main difference. So you've shot limited and production. What made
okay.
it
So
similar to both of
you
those?
get the speed of limited, but you
Yeah.
get it in completely different ways.
Okay. So explain that
Generally,
maybe.
so limited, you'd shoot more dynamically while you're moving or whatever, but on mid-range targets and long targets, you're not shooting very precisely because you can just you just like eat C's all day. They literally don't matter. On close range targets, it's probably same, because it's more about getting the gun into the center of a big target. You don't really have to be confirming a lot or aiming a lot. As long as the gun gets to where you want it on the target, you're going to shoot fast. And then a partial targets, you pick up speed in limited. I mean, by comparing to let's compare it to production. So I would be faster shooting limited on partial targets, especially because I'm not sitting there aiming for A's. I'm just gonna slam them into the brown.
In the
Try to
brown
stay out of
area,
the
right?
D, stay off the no shoots, stay out of the D zone, and send it. No problem. So you pick up speed that way, but limited is interesting because shooting iron sights, as you know, you really got to get on the sights and be confirming each shot on steel targets, especially. And then since the hit factors are higher and limited, you get punished pretty hard for all the time you spend shooting extra shots on the poppers.
Okay.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You're gonna get hammered for that. And there's more recoil. That's more of you just have to train more to get used to the recoil. But I
That's
don't.
unlimited, right?
Yeah, and limited. So your grip has to be straight, maybe, but not a huge deal.
Yeah.
But that's how that works. Carry optics, you have to be really precise because you can't outrun the points down shooting minor. It's a lot different. We did put out. I don't want to be banging on my keyboard, but maybe you saw the kind of the book preview graphic that we put out
The
a while back.
visualization.
Not the visualization thing, but a
Oh, the
chart.
math. The math.
Yeah, about hit factor math, and
Yeah, exactly.
so minor is it's a way flatter curve. So as you go faster and drop more points, it doesn't help you shooting minor, and like going faster and faster and adding more risk of dropping points. It's just not a very good proposition. Like you have to be precise. The precision has to be there. Shooting major, if you can appreciably cut time by shooting a lot of C's, it's almost always worth it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's a change. So basically limited, I'm going to spend less time aiming at everything except for the steel. If it's steel or it's a risky shot where I'm in danger of shooting a miss, then you aim your ass off because you really don't want to miss. And then away you go. And you grip the gun. You have to grip the gun maybe better, or there's not as much wiggle room there just because it's is major. That's been my experience too, and that's we did an interview with Casey Reed for Training Group. So if you're a Training Group member and you haven't seen that, go watch that. And a big thing that we talked about there was when he switched from production to limited, he really had to get his grip perfect. And I experienced the same thing. So like the same gun, the same frame with my Tanfolios, just like you want your hand position to be perfect on there and the pressure to be right. And if it is, then major is really not a hindrance at all. It doesn't really hurt. But if your grip's a little bit wrong, it's a problem.
Right.
So that's what's going on there. Shooting carry optics, I mean, I was shooting a Glock I had trained with very little. I'll be straight with you. Never shot it in a match, hardly ever shot it on proper stages. I shot it a little bit in one class in December, and I spent half my time shooting limited and half shooting a Glock with the carry optics in my classes for the week. So I hadn't shot it that much on proper stages, just a little bit. So my grip's a little bit fucked up or whatever, but it's not a big deal because it's just 9mm. It's not gonna be a big deal at all.
So you were able to overcome the grip, like with the CO gun.
It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter as much. But you get punted. You think you're going to shoot really fast with the dot, but on the partial targets, you got to get in there and pick those A's out if you can. So, for example, the match I shot had one stage that was all head boxes.
Yeah.
And it's like, you really want to go for those A's. You really want to go for those A's. Whereas the approach shooting limited would be completely different. You would just, like, if I get them anywhere on the head, it's all good in the hood. But you have to go for that upper A zone credit card on the head boxes. And so that stage really highlighted the minor thing. So shooting long shots, like shooting long steel or whatever, is super easy with the carry optics gun because there's not much recoil and you get a dot.
Right.
So, it's
Did you experience any moving targets? That's the one thing I noticed when shooting CO. The moving targets were exponentially easier.
There was a couple drop turners in the match, but I shoot target focused anyway on movers, so that wouldn't be a big change for me. But yes, any difficult shooting is way, way, way easier and faster with a dot, of course, because it's a big advantage.
Right. I noticed it the most on swingers and stuff like that. That could be because I did go to a target focused on that because the dot's like there. But that's the biggest thing I noticed was the easiness of the swinging targets.
Yeah. So it's good. Like it's interesting for me to play around with different guns. It's definitely make me a more experienced, more competent instructor is what I try to do. And shooting a little bit different stuff, learning about it. I liked all that stuff. That was fine. But it was it's good to get confirmation like that. Carry optics. I mean, we've been around a while. I got a pretty good idea what carry optics is about. Shot it. Yeah, that's what I thought it was about. Yeah, it's fine.
Are you going to do it more in the future?
Oh, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, I have no designs of shooting carry optics all the time and really trying to compete in it, but I mean, shooting it a little bit at a club match is, yeah, that's fine. Or
so it was like more about match. Learning for you, right?
That's what I'm all about, Matt. I'm all about the learning.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So I like that. You know what? It's not even really about intellectually learning. It's about, I think I understand how it works. I'm going to go actually do it.
And confirm it?
Yes. So it was pretty much what I thought it was. I will say that the SROs seem like appreciably better than the Delta points in my opinion, just because, I mean, maybe I listen to Hwansik too much, but I just have that thing on my gun and I'm not sitting there perpetually checking the point of aim or the point, the zero or worrying about it. I just I have it on there. I don't baby it or whatever. And I haven't had any problems. I haven't shot them a ton, but those guns have been shot a little bit and the optics have been shot a little bit. And as soon as the mounting plate issue was sorted out, the optics are fine. And it's a simple solution. So it's getting closer to an out of the box sort of this thing's ready to go to do this. And I think the SIG 320s, the Tanfoglio optics ready. You guys have optics ready guns, and the optics are getting better. So all that that's good. That's interesting. That's fine.
I think the optics will continue to get better. None are perfect right now.
Well, this is a conversation that we had over dinner a couple of days ago when somebody's like, "Hey, I'm thinking about shooting carry optics in 2 years. What should I do?" And I'm like, well, right now, don't do shit because everything's going to change. 2 years from now, it'll just be different stuff. And it won't be the SRO. It'll be the SRX, whatever, right. Or the Romeo 7, the Romeo 7Q or whatever the fuck they're going to make. Right. I don't know.
But I think in 2 years, you'll probably see the designs that are being developed right now based on feedback from the current dots that are breaking all the time or like not living as long as they
as
maybe
they
quote
should.
should. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think in
No.
2 years you'll see a drastic step up in optics.
Yes. I mean, I
The
just shot
guns
up
can
the.
handle it. The guns have been around forever, so like the optics are the thing that has to catch up.
Yes. And there's one other thing I'll say. Shooting so I was shooting a Glock 34 with no weight or anything to it, just a factory weight. I don't know how heavy that gun is factory. 20 is it 27 ounces maybe?
26 to 28, I think probably.
Whoa. Okay. So shooting that gun with an optic on it, like truthfully, it was it was just different. I would maybe prefer it to shooting a metal gun.
Oh, really?
Yeah. With an optic because the weight of the optic on the slide changes the recoil characteristics of it.
Right.
So the gun's not really flippy or anything, but the transitions are a lot easier.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm not sure that I would jump on that tungsten, like the tungsten, like powder or whatever
the
they're
grip
doing.
module.
Yeah, I'm
For the
not sure I would
sights and
be.
all that stuff.
I wouldn't be running out to buy that stuff if I was shooting a Sig 320. Like it would be. I mean, I get it. What people do is they pick them up and they shoot the gun at slow fire, like a 20-yard target, and they're like, "Oh, this is less recoil."
Right.
But the other side of that trade is the target transitions, and the target transitions are definitely better with a lighter gun, like appreciably better. And the recoil's really not. It's not that much. So, I like shoot like the gun I used was a Glock 34. Like I said, and it's like if you played with the trigger on it, like it was nothing remotely crazy. It was a Glock trigger. You know what I mean? It was like a 3.5 connector and maybe a spring change.
Super easy to do and simple and works all the
Right.
time,
No,
right?
and it wasn't like, you know how guys get their triggers like out of control light and all that stuff? Like
Yeah.
you know me, I don't do any of that shit.
14-ounce Glock trigger.
Yeah. Or where then they're like federal primers only. No, it was factory ammunition
that you
with,
dimpled when you had to seat them.
yeah. Yes. No, it was none of that shit. I was shooting a very, very factory gun. Like,
Yep.
I mean, nothing. Like, no grip tape, nothing stippled, nothing on it.
Yeah.
Just a plain gun. And it was, I can't even say it, I wouldn't think I was disadvantaged even. It was fine. It was whatever.
That makes sense.
So that was my read on it. Let's go to a question. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Hold on, Matt. We're getting it. Hi, Ben. Big fan of your podcast. All the content you and your colleagues provide for the shooting community. I love that word content. You know, I'm a
I thought you were gonna
content
say
creator.
colleagues.
Yeah, okay. We don't work together, and you call it content. It's basically just like drivel. But anyway, I have a question about training. I shoot mostly single stack and classic, or single stack / classic in Canada and in the U.S. I recently purchased a home, and due to renovations, I'm on a limited budget for competitive shooting for the next year. Okay, cool. I shoot 2 STI 1911s and 9mm. I was wondering what your opinion is on practicing with a 22 conversion kit. Kimber and Advantage Arms make a 22 conversion kit that fits on my 1911s, and wouldn't it be worthwhile to shoot 22s while practicing drills at the range to save money on ammo? I can shoot 5,000 rounds of 22 for the cost of 1,000 rounds of 9mm. I also reload my own ammo, but components are expensive in Canada. Thoughts and opinions? What do you say, Matt?
I think it'd be okay for a while, but obviously you got to budget the ammo, the full power, like the non-22 ammo towards right before matches. So obviously you can't do all the drills. Like you're not going to get recoil control the same versus like not the factory, the full power stuff. You're the one that always said, like in previous, I'll let you kind of explain what your opinion on 22 training is.
I've been down this road for the same reasons. I've done this.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I mean, I'll tell people like, yeah, that's fine if you can do it. There's some caveats. That's like, I mean, you do you, but I wouldn't do it again.
Would you say it's detrimental?
It's not detrimental if you're careful. It's yeah, I mean, as far as like the rapid fire shooting, you're not gonna do recoil control. So I was doing like single shots on targets. The conversion kits are gonna make your slide super light, so the gun will draw different. Usually the magazines are gonna feel goofy, you know?
Yeah, sometimes they're pretty hard to reload too because it's not
Yeah,
going to mimic a standard mag.
yeah. So you end up doing like here's what I'll cut to it. 22 is better than dry fire, but not as much better as you think. It's really not that. It's really not that great compared to
So
dry fire.
yeah,
When I see the guy work out the math, like I can shoot 5,000 rounds of 22 for 1,000 rounds of 9. I look at that and I'm like, okay, so if I can afford, so if he was going to go to the range and shoot 500 rounds a session and do 10 sessions a month, then I would just go do 2 or 3 sessions a month to break up my 1,000 rounds of 9, and I would then dry fire the rest of the time. That's what I would do. Um, just just because doing really dynamic movement and dry fire, if you have some space you can run around, I think you're better off doing that. Just as far as like and the reason is, I should say, because you got to pay for the conversion kits, and then all of the stuff that we just talked about where it's like, oh, the magazines are goofy, the slide is different. Like you will spend time fucking around with this stuff. That's, I mean, you're not really getting it out of that. You're just like adapting to the 22 kit and kind of learning all these lessons for yourself, for how the gun handles and how it transitions and how it reloads. And that part's not productive at all. You're just learning the 22 kit.
right. And
Yeah.
that'll take away from actually the time you can
Yes.
spend dry firing or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah. Back when I was a poor, I did this, and it was fine. It wasn't like it wasn't productive practice, but it was a lot of hassle for marginally more productive practice than I would otherwise have. And if I just didn't buy the kit, dry fired more, budgeted my ammo, all that stuff, I would have been better off, or at least in the same place with way less hassle.
Yeah. So I think one thing, like, manage your expectations during this also. You're kind of cutting back. So would you say to, like, maybe like if he thinks he should get better over this period of time
He's gonna
or
get
kind
better
of
anyway.
maintain?
No, he's gonna get better. Like if you think like, oh, I'm renovating a house, so I'm poor now, so I don't have ammo for like money for ammo, so I'm not gonna get better. He's gonna make himself right. If it's like, oh, I'm just gonna budget my ammo and that's what I got, and do my training, like my first year doing shooting, I had 5,000 rounds. That's what I had for the year. That's it. There was no more. It's like I had that much, so I had to like make it work, and it was a really productive year. And like the year after that, it's like, okay, now I have 10,000 rounds, and that, like, there's not going to be more. That's all I got.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So I think you're better off just budgeting the ammo personally. But again, that's just me.
And you could dry fire on the range. Like if you're still worried about range time, go dry fire on the range. So you still have
100%.
the same amount of time spent on the range, but with less ammo.
Yeah. So think about this. So you do a bill drill, you do your 6 rounds. Okay, cool. Um, and then you pay careful attention to what just happened, and then you do 10, 20, 30, 40 dry repetitions
Yep.
with whatever you just thought about. Then you do another bill drill,
Yeah.
right?
So
And then again, pay attention so you can extend your ammunition
What-
longer. if you'd
one
like to.
thing I would read into his comment about he wants to go shoot the 22 is maybe if he's not at the range, he won't find the time or something else will come up.
Or
in
maybe he
front-
doesn't
in-
have maybe he doesn't have a big dry fire space.
Yep.
Maybe he wants to shoot because he thinks it's fun. I
Yeah.
mean, all of that's, yeah, maybe that's his decision,
Sure.
is what I would say.
But you could dry fire at the range to help make sure you still have all the range time you thought before.
Right.
And not just
And-
be putting rounds down range.
Yes, and then the other part of that is like, so if you have unlimited ammo, like there's plenty of guys that have effectively unlimited ammunition because they have money, or there are guys that through some sort of work they have unlimited ammunition, and those guys like never want to dry fire. It's like if you're at the range and there's this problem, like you can unload your gun and then do some dry reps and just work on that thing and then load up the gun and start shooting again. So
Right.
like combination live and dry reps is definitely more effective. And it's difficult to get people to be thinking that way. So that's what I would say about it.
Sounds great.
Super duper. All right. I think that pretty much wraps it up for today's podcast, right, Matt?
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty good.
All right. If you got a question you'd like the answer to, go to benstarrett.com. Send me your question. We'd love to talk about it. And that's it. So toodles there, kids.
Bye.
Whatever this